Hey, and welcome to the Alien Scientist channel. Today, I'm going to go cover some new things that have recently come out, and we're also going to get into some of the new book that just came in the mail, and which I'm starting to read and get into some of this technology stuff real quick. So this just came out. Read this report. There's a bunch of interesting people on these committees. Some of the best information you probably find. There's not really much technical information in this report. It's only 22 pages, and it's really non-technical. It doesn't really go into a lot of the stuff, but it just shows you who's some of these offices. So there's this National Quantum Coordination Office that's going on, and one of the staff members is this guy Thomas Wong. I believe he spoke or was at the quantum computing conference that was down here at URI. But anyways, that's how I found out about this. I follow him on Twitter, and he's the guy who posted this. Kind of interesting, I actually learned about a lot of the quantum sensor stuff from my research into this terahertz business, with Tom DeLonge and the metamaterials that TTSA was claiming were being used in this UFO program with Elizondo and some of these other guys before they stopped really talking about that stuff. And DeLonge would later claim that he talked about some stuff that people weren't ready for, that he really couldn't talk about, and it was just and I think this is what he was referring to, was this terahertz stuff that he mentioned briefly, but really just did not have the technical knowledge and understanding to really dive into and get into. But we're going to dive into some of that research and where to find that technical information for people that are interested in what I've uncovered through this avenue. So basically, terahertz. I found out about that group at, let me find it if I have it here somewhere on one of these tabs and drag it over. I'm going to look it up real quick. So at Wright State, there's an ultra-fast photonics group. So if you type in ultra-fast photonics Wright State, you'll find, Jason Diebel. Dr. Jason Diebel, and or Dave, I think I'm saying it right. Hopefully I'm saying it properly. Diebel. But he's got a whole bunch of staff team working under him at this terahertz facility right at Wright State. They've taken a lot of this stuff down, man. You got to go to. A good thing I saved screenshots of all of this. Because one of their researchers was arrested and charged, and he just did a year, and he should have been out in end of February, so he should have just gotten out of federal prison out there in Ohio. And be interesting if we get some of our better researchers to work with us on this, because I'd like to. This is where the real gathering of intelligence goes, because these people tend to disappear off the radar, and who knows where they go. It's like they're forced into a black world. He's probably, I would imagine what's going to happen to this fellow from the Isaac Kemp guy, former Air Force contractor, sentenced to prison for illegally taking 2,500 pages of classified information. And this is some of the research that the U.S. Air Force was doing. And so Isaac Vincent Kemp just did a year in jail or federal prison for not safeguarding classified intelligence documents, which were obviously related to his very seemingly benign, research into surface plasma and polaritons at Wright State University. So I started digging into his publications and his papers, and I have his PhD thesis and a bunch of his other paperwork saved in case they try to erase it or delete it or get rid of it, so it can't disappear. This is, but basically what it says, what I've learned from the research and what they were doing with it is a way to use these surface plasmon polaritons to resonate in different layers of surfaces so they could see beneath paint. And the Air Force was apparently using it to their reasoning and status that they talked about was that they were trying to, inspect the integrity of the metal of aircraft hulls beneath the paint jobs. So they could basically use this to use imaging to see beneath paint. It's like X-ray vision, but not using X-rays. It's using terahertz radiation waves. And in the terahertz spectrum, there's this interesting gap called the terahertz gap, which is, described by Puthoff as this where these UFOs operate to beat gravity. He claims that they operate within this terahertz gap, which a lot of skeptics initially, rebuked as, this is just another unobtainium. It's just one of those areas in physics we can't get to, or that's been hard to achieve. And that's, of course, where, we can place, some detractor who knows that it's going to be, decades before we reach that gap technologically, can say, oh, well, anti-gravity works on element 115, which hasn't been discovered yet, but will be sometime in the future. Sorry, I didn't mean to use, 115 as the example, but you get my drift. Yeah, you could basically find this gap in our current physics knowledge and say that, oh, well, anti-gravity sits in that gap. But there might be some more to that picture of physics and that puzzle piece, because why is there a gap in the, I always thought the electromagnetic spectrum was this continuous, this continuous thing of just, this, I didn't know I wasn't aware that there was a gap in it. It never taught to me that there's a gap. It was just like, oh no, this is just the gap that we see. There's this band gaps, I know what band gaps are, that, there's this one visible spectrum is just a tiny gap of the total wavelengths and all the waves that are, traveling out there that we use and harness for all these different purposes and stuff. Some of these high energy waves like X-rays can travel right through your soft tissue, but don't travel through your denser bones as well. So that's why they're used in X-ray imaging. So, but this whole idea of why is there a gap in the spectrum, and what goes on in that gap? Why is there a gap? What is happening atomically that would create such a gap in the electromagnetic spectrum? What's going on in the physics that would create this, and why, and where is it in the models explained? So these surface plasmon polaritons, it turns out that this Wright State University student who was obviously doing classified research related to this, and then it comes out that he wrote these papers on surface imaging, and that it was related to Air Force developing these quantum sensors. Again, back to this whole committee which compromised this. Here the chair is where's not the chair, one of the the top member right here, AFRL, that's Air Force Research Labs. So there's NASA, there's a joint effort to work on this technology, and I don't think it's just about sensors, but it is a lot to do with sensors, because if you think about it, what would what would be on an alien spacecraft if we just recovered debris from an alien spacecraft, as people think is also going on at Wright-Patterson and Air Force Research Labs. There would be obviously some serious quantum sensors on a alien spacecraft. And so this gets into a whole bunch of, some interesting stuff on these quantum sensors too that is not mentioned here in this non-technical, very brief discussion. Which came up recently was this issue of Frolic Condensates. And this is the physicist you want to dig into the literature if you want to learn more about Frolic condensate, and the idea of this, these chemistry chains and lattices being hosts for quantum dynamic systems. Jack Sarfati talks a lot about this, how he describes, consciousness arising from quantum phenomenon inside the brain due to Frolic condensates inside of where's that paper? Frolic condensates inside of microtubules. Yeah, right here. Frolic effect in microtubules. So more search terms for people to look up and do some research and digging on. Yeah, the Frolic effect in microtubules would certainly explain, how consciousness could arise inside the brain. Very, very interesting. Hypothesis to go off of so far, interesting. This isn't truth, guys. This is another hypothesis for how it works. And this relates to, that biophoton effect, that there could even be certain signals that are, could explain some of these weirder phenomena, how we receive messages and receive information clairvoyantly, or, ways that we sense things on a deeper level that we don't really understand and could maybe enhance biologically too in the future. Maybe aliens have already enhanced this sort of thing and they can do more with that. But anyways, I'm getting, way off the gap here with some of this stuff. Let's get back to the alien debris thing and why I mentioned all that and why I still haven't given up on that idea. There's this thing called the Pinnacle Memorandum, and let me find this because I don't have it up here, I don't believe anymore. So I had a bunch of pages up on this Pentacle Memorandum, and now I can't find them. Is it under another window? Nope. So, in any case, this is it right here. Boom. This Pinnacle Memorandum showed up, and it's probably the most interesting and intriguing document I've ever come across in ufology so far, that relates to some of these ideas. So this talks about that material that they had being, a terahertz metamaterial. So that was it the TTSA metamaterial UFO debris. If you find this image, you'll find it. This layered magnesium bismuth. So it's bismuth and magnesium in these alternating layers, and there might be some isotope ratios of the metals that are different, and they're not quite sure why that is. But my first hypothesis is that it's related to the spin and spintronics, because there's been a lot of research. If you look up the documents on those 38 pages of scientific studies related to ATIC, you'll find that those 38 papers that came out. It was published by George Knapp, and I kind of laughed at that, you know, because 38 papers is really nothing compared to the database that we have on everything that, you know, patents to everything related to anti-gravity, just organized into folders, including a lot of the digging that we've been doing into Battelle Memorial Institute. Battelle's really interesting. They've been a military contractor. They're kind of protected from FOIAs because they're a private institute, and they're outside the government. They're not. They've always been like a private kind of outside entity, and Battelle's certainly got a lot of patents. They're metallurgy experts. They would have been the ones that UFO debris would have been sent to for analysis. And I talk a little bit about that and some of the research that they've uncovered with this Pinnacle Memorandum being at the heart of it. Although something that's really interesting is that research into these other names, you know, Howard Cross, you can't really find much on him. It's like all this information is old. It's too old for the internet, you know, because it was the 1950s, late 1940s, early 1950s. So a lot of this information's like, if nobody like preserved it and really documented it and scanned it and put it all on the internet, then it's not there. It's not searchable. So there's nothing on these other names. And this classified memo, and when we talk about this piecing together the lost UFO history, it's all about the science and the scientists, right? Because that's where you're going to find the real intelligence. The rest of the stuff is just fluff. It's all documents and UFO reports and crap, right? If I was going to hire we already talked about a lot about these secret colleges and secret universities on this channel. Talked a lot about that before. Read a lot about that in the past, and some of my research into the deep state and a lot of the history of the New World Order kind of stuff, going back to these, you know, the setup of the Rockefeller institutions of these private, you know, universities where they would assemble all these, you know, soon to be PhD grad students that were soon to be graduating with their PhDs, and they would, you know, be like, basically like, we're going to elect you to be part of this, you know, prestigious, you know, universities and organizations, you know, like the Rhodes Scholars and other kinds of things like that, Rhodes Scholarships and other things, other institutions and academic. They wanted to basically control the history and control the mindset of the people through the control of the intellectual establishment and the institutions and the academia. And this is documented and shown, and it's something that, you know, the corruption is something that is, I'm glad is being, you know, finally exposed, because it really teaches a lot about, you know, the education system and academia in general and some of the flaws with it. But that need to be talked about, and I'm glad that some of these flaws are finally, you know, coming to light. On a side note, I saw this recent 4-minute exchange. This was awesome. Like the way that I love Eric Weinstein and the way he just laces into these mainstream physicists like Brian Greene. I want to play this, but I don't want to get hit with a copyright thing either, because it's just every time I try to play another clip for, you know, to host it on my channel to promote it, when I'm, you know, like it just hits me with like, no, you're trying to steal it. No, I'm trying to promote it and help these people, like, you know, show people. So I'm not going to play the clip. I'm just going to promote it, let people go and hear and see the clip on their own, and post here. That's the YouTube clip where they can go watch that. And then here's where actually you can go watch the full exchange, because in this 4-minute clip, they didn't let Sabina talk, even though she's in it. And she's
AI.TV.
That culture.
She's one of my favorite new physics voices out there, because she just kind of cuts through this bullshit and she sees through a lot of this stuff. And Michael Shermer, we all know him, and I could care less for him or his opinions. But Sabine is great, and definitely go and check out this whole thing. I've watched a little bit of it, but I'm definitely going to dig into that more, because it just talks about, did string theory poison physics? Was physics intentionally misled and down a false path, and had their time wasted for years to cover up more classified approaches and research and knowledge? And that's arguable whether that happened or not, and how it was done, and who funded it. Basically it's where the people went, where a lot of times the academia goes where the money is. There's no other way to do anything in these fields than to go where the money is. And a lot of times it's just like carrot on the string for these bigger organizations like the Rockefeller Foundation and some of these other people, because they would have certainly had the motive to poison physics and be like, oh, what, people can eventually going to create materials that are going to have free energy and be able to pull energy out of the vacuum. Well, that's going to destroy my oil monopoly. So it's obvious that there's powerful organizations which occupy trillions of dollars of our global economy daily, causing these jacked up oil prices when we should be flying around in Jetson cars by now. And this, you're crazy if you talk about conspiracies and all this, even though if people want to read the history, Daniel Yergin wrote a great book that y'all can go read called The Prize. He actually wrote 2 books. There's a sequel that he wrote to it, but this is an amazing, amazing book. It's a must read for it should be required reading for every high school student in the goddamn country. Like, I really want to demand the Board of Education take off, Huckleberry, I don't know, Huckleberry Finn's a pretty good piece of history too, but this is a interesting, important, essential piece of history. There's so many other books that I really think that I was forced to read in high school that probably would have been better off not having read than this should be on the essential reading lists. But yeah, you can really learn about the Rockefellers, the history of oil in this country and the corruption, and it's been a conspiracy. It's always been. It's ridiculous. But anyways, these were probably, I'm guessing that some of these guys were either really high level people within these organizations like Battelle, or maybe related to other colleges nearby, subject matter experts, or they could have been younger PhDs, which were brought into, that would be probably my best bet. If you were going to bring a bunch of people in to really change the paradigm and study this stuff, I would get a bunch of soon to be PhDs who came from really struggling financial backgrounds, maybe not maybe even people without a large family, and I would recruit them into this organization before they got their PhD and before they began publishing academic literature at a doctorate level. And the reason I would do this is because the research that they would be conducting wouldn't be published in the public domain. It would be published inside the archives of private organization like Battelle or such. And I would probably make sure that because this is how I find a lot of the research. I uncover a lot of classified research and a lot of science through the scientists. A lot of what I do is human intelligence. It's tracking down the scientists themselves and then digging through their research and who they worked with and talking to their colleagues and stuff like that. So these names on this list. You can't find, like, I've been trying to dig into these other names. I'm like, well, this Pinnacle Memorandum's been around for quite a while, and everyone talks about it, and there's been all these documentaries on it. But man, I mean, we know Miles E. Coll. You know, we know who that is. We know who Howard Cross was, the director of Battelle. But Westerman, Thomas, Jackson, Reid, Rieppal, Ellsey, Lund. Where's the scoop on these guys? Why can't I like? We'll have to be able to find their university that they graduated from, pull their PhD thesis, pull their academic files if we can at least, and I would look at, you know, some of these places they recruited the we know that they used for the Invisible College, like University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Random, right? But perfect. We know that Wright State was basically created for, you know, almost this purpose. We know that, so Wright State's a good place to look. I know a couple other places maybe that have, you know, Princeton, Princeton has always had the strong metallurgy, you know, expertise, like with John Wheeler working there, and a number of other people. So Princeton, New Jersey. Yeah, let's start digging through the academic archives from those years. They would have probably graduated in the late 1940s or early 1950s. So let's follow the rabbit hole. So it's going to be a PhD graduate, 1947 to 1953, right? Gives us a small window of those years. So sometime between then, they would have, you know, recruited these PhD students and brought them into this program. And, you know, this is crazy because we want to talk about this MJ12 group and all this stuff. And I've seen those, that the list that's been offered for the MJ12. And I know that there is like there's got to be another like group or something going on. And this is interesting that, you know, there's almost like 6 people on this list. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. 8 could be Thomas, right? 8 people. So maybe there's a few others. It's like, it's almost like if you want to look for a real, I don't know, this is a good lead. I just feel like if these names are on this list and this Pinnacle Memorandum, this is a real memo that came from J. Allen Hynek's files that Jack Villay got a hold of after Hynek died. And Hynek had this, you know, project, the guy who basically did all this, the big science research for Project Blue Book for the U.S. Air Force, had this document. Then I think these names are important and really worth digging into. And it's a goddamn shame that, you know, no information can really be dug up looking up these names through a Google search. And I think that there's really something more to this. So I want to get our people on this. So we're going to look for a PhD graduate from those years, and we're going to search the archives at Princeton. We're going to search the archives at UNC Chapel Hill. We're going to find all the PhDs that graduated with metallurgy or physics or material science or any kind of related degrees during those years. We're going to start, you know, and we're going to try to see if we get a hit. Right? We're going to find out who, if these are real names and where they graduated from, and then we're going to start trying to really track down their records and where they went and start digging into these names, because who are these people? This is probably the most crucial document in all of UFO history, and nobody's dug into these scientists and figured out and got a whole bibliography and a whole curriculum vitae on these dudes. Where is that? That should be done, and that hasn't been done. And we're going to do that because it's the most important document in all of ufology, in my opinion. And these scientists, obviously, were put on this list to get this information, this classified security information, obviously went to these particular scientists for a reason. And why haven't we heard about these scientists, and who are they? So Wright State didn't exist in 1953. It wasn't built until the 1960s. So we're going to look for universities around Ohio, because it was most likely people around Ohio, and we're going to also check the records at Battelle. I want to try to get a hold of someone from Battelle and see if we can find anything related to any of these names, because it would be maybe it would be likely that all these, or at least a number of these scientists' names, were people that worked at or for Battelle under Howard Cross, who is one of the few people we have identified and really have some knowledge and history about. So that would be a good thing. So normally in forensic investigations, anything about anyone in Dayton, Ohio? Nice, dude. Yeah, it's good to have someone out there, man. Well, look up these names. If you could please, it might be Columbus, Ohio, though, because Dayton, Ohio is Columbus, Ohio is actually where Battelle headquarters is. So it would really be maybe in the Columbus history records. If these guys, worked for Battelle, then there'd be something on them having lived in Columbus during the 1950s when this was going on, if they worked at Battelle. So yeah, might be worth looking into. But back to the other question, right above that one. When I do forensic investigations, it's basically like proximities research. So yeah, it's basically what I'm doing. The same thing I'm doing here is that I'm saying, all right, well, we have proximity. We have this guy, and he worked for Battelle. So let's start there and try to figure out, well, who worked with him at Battelle and who worked for Battelle and did, metallurgy research and expertise research. Well, that's how I know about John A. Archibald Wheeler. So we have Princeton connection. So, all right, we're going to look in Princeton. All right. And then we have, Wheeler was connected with this other guy, Bryce Dewitt from University, North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And that he was, this invisible college guy that did a lot of this top secret physics research. And boom. So there we have another connection. And so we're going to look, it's proximities research, and it's just branching our way out. So we start with, well, where did the crime take place? This is a UFO cover-up, a big scientific UFO cover-up, that there was deeper scientific research being done on materials that were not disclosed to the public during Project Blue Book, and that there was other undisclosed classified research going on in relation to Project Blue Book related to metallurgy and materials science that was not talked about in those materials and their origins, their compositions. Anything about them was never disclosed fully to the public. Only certain bits and pieces of, we've uncovered, from some of the scientists' names who have claimed to have worked on this stuff, like, John Elroy Center. And there's those Battelle documents in the files of Battelle with the, there's that Denmark UFO metals study. It was a 1950s case of this, a 1952 UFO case in Denmark that dropped some UFO metal, and that went to Battelle. And went to Project Blue Book for study. Absolutely. It went to Project Blue Book, and then they sent it to Battelle for analysis from the metallurgy. Absolutely, it happened, and it's documented. That's one very key piece of evidence, small, but definitely worth noting in the literature, and that scientists should be aware of this stuff. That they should be inquiring and and more interested in this stuff, because if we have recovered debris from UFOs, you know, flying saucers didn't really exist in the 1950s, but yet these military convoys spotted one, saw it, tracked it, and then saw it drop a piece of metal, then recovered that piece of metal and studied it. And I should have more documents in here from Battelle. Surprised I don't. These are some interesting patents, but I have more patents than that, so I'm going to update this file a little bit here too. With some stuff, but yeah, those progress reports from Battelle indicate that they were developing methods for analyzing ultra pure titanium samples of titanium metal that were hard to disassemble or analyze in other ways or other methods. So they were dissolving them in chlorine gas and then measuring the off gases to tell what the pieces of metal were made of. And if they found super materials like this memory foil, that would be the exact way that you would decompose it and try to figure out what it was. So yeah, this missing Pinnacle scientists, super interesting that we have this document. We've had it for years, but nobody's really uncovered a full curriculum vitae and bibliography of these scientists. We got to find out who these scientists were. We got to find out everything they've published and put it together in the file and document it and dig through it and give it to the people, and really dig in. We'll give it to the people who really understand this stuff, and I can bounce it off the experts that I know for input on things that I don't understand, so that I can work my way around it. And we're gonna dig into this, because if there's a secret group of scientists that were hired back in 1950s, right after Roswell, who were hired under Project Blue Book to not to disclose to basically to study metals and UFO debris that was not fully disclosed to the public at the time. That's a huge deal. That's a huge story, and that's something that journalists ought to be, out everywhere ought to be, looking into, and taking a look at. So, yeah, Jeremy Godoy, man, I just want to give a shout out. Brian Evans, Truth Freeze, Emmy, Dan, what's up, man? Yeah, thanks, man. This is some of my latest research, and yeah, about the Dayton, Ohio. Emmy, figure out where Isaac Kemp is. He just got out. He lived in Fairborn before he got arrested. He's probably back maybe with his parents or something temporarily. See if you can get a hold of him, man, and see if he'd be willing to talk to me, off the record first. Obviously, I don't think he can talk much on the record with his, but he's already lost his clearance. I don't think he's ever going to get that back, unless there's something else. I don't know. I'd like to find out more about that. We'll see if they do bring him back in. If it was just like a slap on the wrist, like, hey, well, you did a year. Don't be taking documents home again if you want to work for us. And that, maybe they'll bring him back. Maybe they'll tell him they're going to bring him back just so that he won't talk to me and talk to us. But yeah, figure out where Kemp is, and we'll see if we can't get him to talk a little bit more, or tell us, just answer yes or no questions or something. I don't even think they can do that, and some of these NDAs. Nice. Yeah, I decided to do an early stream, man. So so I'm mostly just the tech and stuff. I try not to get super political, but I always like a good conspiracy and digging into some of that stuff, where there's science involved. But mostly just sticking to the tech. But I might go on Timcast again. I got to get a hold of Ian, maybe either in 2 weeks or maybe the end of April. Might be going down there to help them set up their science show that they want to do, and some other lab stuff for experiments, and also might give them some construction insights on Freedomistan, that he's building this a compound with a sustainable community, and I was going to go talk to him about some sustainability projects and getting off the grid and other stuff like that. So yeah, those guys are cool. And it'd be great to get on their podcast because they get a lot of viewers. Not that everyone who watches it is into all this deep physics dive stuff, but this is where the interesting research goes on, and this is where we find you start digging into terahertz stuff. You find these scientists, then you realize, oh, one got arrested and did a year in jail for taking documents home, and then you start digging into what he did his PhDs and thesis papers on, and you find all this other stuff about quantum sensors and things that can see beneath aircraft, see through aircraft hulls, and anti-stealth, anti-invisibility cloaking stuff too can be done with these sensors. But yeah, the Pinnacle memo, definitely something interesting. Oh, this is super cool too, and I wanted to mention it. Scientists create a gas of light particles that can be extremely compressed. So basically they said that there's this block, you can put so much light and pump so much light into something, and then it hits this wall, and then once it hits that wall, it becomes a quantum gas, or this photon gas, and then you can just pump as much energy into it as you want, theoretically. I don't know, might have maybe there's another plateau and another limit when you pump as much energy. Maybe when you pump so much energy in it, you just teleport to somewhere else in space, because it just breaks the the structure of space or something. But this is super interesting and related to all the ideas that visions that I've had for how UFOs work and operate. It's related to these materials, with these two-dimensional materials, where they can trap incredible amounts of light and create these types of photon gases, where you can pump massive amounts of energy into these areas, creating, maybe creating enough energy that you could, in such a small area, concentrated, that you can warp space-time. But that's just theoretical. It's never been proven. There's a prize out there for anyone who can do it, prove that it can be done. I think this is how to do it. I think that these researchers and people that are working on this stuff are on the right track, and I just want to give them a lot of encouragement. The UFO community needs you and needs this research. So yeah, definitely check out this video. I'd play this for you, but maybe University of Bonn. I could probably play this for educational purposes and it won't hit me with copyright, right?
In our study, we explore mechanical properties of an optical quantum gas. The compressibility tells us how easy it is to squash a gas when applying a force. Intuitively, we know it gets harder and harder to compress, for example, an air pump when blocking its outlet. A gas of photons behaves quite differently. Quantum theory tells us at large densities, a photon gas should become highly compressible. This effect does not occur with interacting particles and has not been observed before. In our experiments, we use a highly reflecting, nanostructured mirror box as a container for the photons. We then apply a force on the light by slightly tilting one of the mirrors. For a small number of photons, we only observed a very weak response to the force. As we entered the quantum region, however, things started to become unusual. The compressibility drastically increased. This effect can be attributed to the emergence of order, which makes it much easier to compress such a gas. Our measurements also give direct access to the equation of state of an optical quantum gas for the first time. Our findings open several new research directions in the future. Photons in the box can provide new insight into, for example, sound propagation, ordering mechanisms, or non-equilibrium effects. Technologically, the quantum-enhanced compressibility may enable new research into sensors that can detect very small forces.
Sweet. That was pretty cool. Let me try to find another one. Oh, this is just nonsense. Yeah, so let me 1 second. I gotta grab this book. And this is the new book that I just got. Not new, it's 2019. Kind of pretty new. But this is what I'm going to start reading about. I don't know why religion is in there, but maybe I'll have to see what she says about it. But interesting stuff nonetheless. Diane Walsh Pasulka is actually from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And that's the author of this book. And she did a lot of research into the Invisible College that was run out of there during these years in the 50s and 60s, I think. Going back to the 50s. I know it was in the 60s, but to find out more about that whole Invisible College and what went on there. Eric Weinstein, awesome stuff. Go check this out. Go check that out. Lots of new information in there. This thing, go tell our buddy here, Tom Wong, about Frolic condensates and microtubules and how, we need to build the right kind of sensors, quantum sensors. Maybe we already have these things in the brain. Maybe that's how Ingo Swann changed that needle. And we got to do some experiments with that, the super sensitive, quantum states, and then trying to affect it with brain waves and mass consciousness and stuff like that. I think that would be really awesome. So, yeah, why don't I bring some people on to, this doesn't screw up the discussion, because I got some people talking about Go particles and prions or spions. What are these spions, man? Join me. Come share your knowledge. Yes, we need smart people, and then I can give the layman explanation. So what layman explanation do you need for sorry, what were we just talking about? Oh, this is cool. Invention using terahertz radiation could make particle accelerators 10 times smaller. From the Department of Energy. Yeah, future X-ray lasers and accelerators for radiation therapy more compact. So it feeds terahertz radiation into a tiny cavity to boost particles to tremendous energies. This image shows 1/2 of the structure within the cavity in the circled area inlet. Okay, so it's got this Looks like the baffles in a silencer. Weird. Interesting stuff. So go check that out. I'll post that link. They ran out of room. They won't let me post more links in the description. There's that. I'm an idiot too, man. I need the layman explanation, but I love talking to the smart people. And I know how to tell. I just have a bachelor's degree, so I basically just know how to tell the difference between the smart people and the dumb people. And I can kind of figure out when scientists know what they're talking about or don't. Oh, sweet, dude. Thank you for the super chat. Switch Craft. That's awesome. I appreciate that, Canada. How do you feel about Mr. Trudeau? Just want your honest opinion on him, man. See what people have to say. We got 80 people watching now, man. The numbers are going up. So thank you, Craft, for that. So now that my numbers have gone up to about 80 people, we're going to do the 1 in 100 challenge. So I want you all. I have two 10-sided die. One is tens and the other is single digits. I'm going to roll them, and you're going to guess a number between 1 and 100. So guess a number between 1 and 100 in the chat right now. And closest one wins. So let's go. Throw some numbers out there. We're about to roll. I want to see some numbers. Let's get a good spread before I roll this. See who gets to be the closest. All right. Here we go. The number is 76. So who is closest? Ooh. 67. You were backwards, man. You got the vision, dude, but it was the other way around. Oh, Elon Musk, I think, is the winner. He was the closest with 77. Damn, Enron. He's the second guess, too. We also have King Frost on the other side of 76. So you came in second place. You weren't first. Sorry, dude. Oh, you get the backwards, man. You got the dyslexic clairvoyance, dude. Oh well. 76, dude. No. Indica Farmer got 76. Oh, wait. Did he? Musk was 77. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Indica Farmer Sleeper got 76, dude. I didn't even see him. He was lost in there's more numbers I didn't see. Good job, Indica Farmer. You win. The Indica Farmer wins. In fact, if you're an Indica Farmer right now, you've probably already won. And you're probably like making out. There's like those dispensaries are opening up everywhere here in Massachusetts, and they have like they make so much money, dude. It's ridiculous. Oh, and my UFO picture's gone. There it goes. Now it's back. There we go. Just some random picture I found of a UFO on the internet, and it's definitely not important. I'm pretty sure it's Kawanda effect. VZ9 Avrocar crap. Yes, dude. This proves. No, it doesn't. We should do a whole study on that. Let's keep guessing numbers. All right, so this doesn't prove it. Let's run 3 tests consecutively, and that will prove it. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about some science, and then we'll run another test here in a little bit. National Air and Space Intelligence Center. This is where, if UFO research had, a home or a headquarters, I think this would be it. Because that's what ufology is. It's essentially Air Force and aerospace intelligence. It's knowing what's flying around in our skies. And I think that, the military wants people to be filming UFOs and posting the videos on the internet. I think it's essential for intelligence collection for that activity to take place. And so people that are like, oh, the government's they're censoring these UFO videos, it's like, no, the people just, they get debunked and people take them down because they realize that they're bad ones, and they don't want to be just polluting the whole field with a bunch of crap or nonsense and stuff. So what they really need is I'm sure it might happen. Yeah, I'm sure it might happen. Don't get me wrong. If something leaks out and it's something classified, dude, that it's going to get taken down. You know what I mean? So if there's like a lot of it's hiding black aircraft and classified, research programs and existing technologies and stuff. And that's why I laugh in the face of, these new news reports. And when, John Greenwald of Black Vault gets on there and says that, he just touts what the Pentagon, what Susan Go, his right-hand girlfriend there at the Pentagon, tells him is going on. Black Vault. So John Greenwald gets all his information out of, that Susan Go. And when she tells him that, there's no technologies that we have that, describe what these UFOs are, he just goes ahead and repeats that. And that gets on mainstream media and gets those views. And yeah, he loves it, man. So yeah, good for you, man. I saw he got like this, he got on it was on like Fox News or CNN something recently, and it just opened up with him in that statement that we have no technology that can describe what this is. And I just think that's the biggest joke that I've ever heard, because UFOs have historically been, documented that they're used as a cover for all of our top secret, Air Force research and technologies, and that it's almost always us all the time. So deal with that. But anyways, let's have everyone, we're going to do a test again now. I just want to see who gets to be the closest. Guess a number between 1 and 100, and we're going to see if the stoner wins again. This will be the real test. If he wins 2 times in a row, if he wins 3 times in a row, dude, like, I'm just going to fall over my chair. All right. We're waiting for clairvoyance. Focus cannabis grower. What was his name? Indica grower, indica farmer. Focus indica farmer. As soon as indica farmer posts his number, we're going to roll. Make sure indica farmer gets this. I want to see. Come on, man. Come on, indica farmer. Focus. Clairvoyance. Someone guessed 67. Somebody guessed 76 again. I'm going to guess 76. Imagine if it rolls the same number twice. Oh, Jeremiah, what's up, dude? John P. Adventures, King Frost, Sound Warrior, Kung Fu, Lord Ludicrous. Can't guess 2 numbers. Come on, I don't even know where this dude went, so hopefully he's just in there. But it's 87. 87. Ooh, Watchdog, you were close, man. Let's go through and find out who was closer. 82, pretty close. Another 82. Nope, man. I think Watchdog, you had it with 89 there. Yeah, man. Dyslexic clairvoyance. Again, who guessed 78? Who? That dyslexic clairvoyance, man. Nope. All right. Well, I guess this is a good test for clairvoyance anyway. I want to get like a super sensitive magnetometer, and we'll do like a I want to get like a live stream going on Tim Pool with like 50,000 people watching, and we'll all try to focus our psychic energy on the magnetometer and see if we can, change quantum magnetic fields with our psychic cross coherence. You know what I mean? Imagine that. That'd be pretty cool. All right, one more time for the guess. He said do it again. So we're going to do one more roll, guess a number between 1 and 100, and we're going to test people's clairvoyant abilities. I call. We didn't get, dude. Obviously, you guys need to smoke more indica. Not smoking enough indica to be able to guess this. Oh, Jeremy Godoy, he guessed 100. You know what? In order for it to roll 100, it has to be 0, 0, or 0, 0. That would be 100. That's 100. That's all right. So, guess your number clairvoyantly. 1 in 100. Here you go. I'm guessing 9. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. $31. Oh, we got a bunch of people that guessed 34. You guys were close, man. You didn't image the 4 properly. You should have saw a 1 instead of a 4. Anyone? 32? All right. That was fun. 34 is the closest. Oh, maybe 29 is pretty close too. So Krepsky, you've been good, man. 1 digit every time. Best 3 of 5. No, I'm just kidding. We'll keep doing this. Let's boost the algorithm, but it's just the weed farmer left, man. He was the one, dude. He would have guessed it all 3 times in a row. He's probably sitting there like, I guessed it. I couldn't do it. Anyways, yeah, guys, jump on that stream. I sent the link out there. One guy jumped on, but I didn't let him on in time, and then he left. That can't be defeated guy. He always comes on and asks me about a million conspiracies. Come back, dude. I'm going to post the link again. StreamYard link, guys. Join up. Come hang out. Good morning before I start my day and leave. The NSA is watching. All right, come on, jump on. I'm going to end the stream right here, I guess. Nobody's jumping on. So come on, hang out at the after party. We can talk privately. later, guys. So I don't know what else. I have really nothing else right now to get on about with this. We need to do more research. There's a whole bunch of stuff we have to research. These Pinnacle guys, and digging into that is going to be a little tricky because that information's not on the internet. It needs to be brought onto the internet, and we will have to do that. Tom Ryder, thank you so much, Grondal, for the 50 knock super sticker. Appreciate that, man. Saturday morning here. Have a good night, guys. Maybe we'll do a stream later. Be building today. Nothing. Later, guys.